Is President Donald Trump's escalating tariff war with China a strategic move to protect American interests, or a miscalculated policy leading to global economic instability? As of April 2025, this question has become increasingly pertinent, with the U.S. imposing tariffs as high as 145% on Chinese imports, triggering significant market reactions and international discourse. But before we delve deeper, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on videos like this. The beginning, how it all started. What events led to the escalation of tariffs in 2025? The roots of the tariff war traced back to Donald Trump's presidency beginning in 2017, when his administration accused China of unfair trade practices. These included currency manipulation, intellectual property theft, and creating a vast trade surplus with the U.S., while initial tariffs targeted specific goods. By 2025, these measures have evolved into a full-blown economic confrontation. This year, the U.S. has ramped up its efforts, citing a lack of tangible progress in negotiations with China. Tariffs on products like electronics, machinery, and consumer goods were increased to unprecedented levels. Critics argue this decision was a reaction to China's growing technological and economic dominance. But was this escalation inevitable, or could diplomacy have offered a more effective solution? Impact on U.S. economy. Who bears the brunt? How are American businesses and consumers affected by these tariffs? Tariffs, by design, are meant to protect domestic industries by making imported goods more expensive. However, this strategy has unintended consequences. Businesses reliant on Chinese imports now face higher costs, leading to price hikes for consumers. Key impacts: inflationary pressures. The higher cost of imports is passed on to consumers, contributing to rising inflation. Everyday goods like electronics, clothing, and household items are now significantly more expensive. Business struggles. Industries reliant on Chinese components, such as the technology and automotive sectors, face production delays and increased costs. Companies like Apple and Tesla have reported declines in profit margins due to the tariffs. Stock market volatility. The financial markets have responded with sharp declines. The S&P 500 fell by 4.5% in the days following the latest tariff announcement, while the Nasdaq and Dow Jones also recorded significant losses. So, is this economic strain a short-term sacrifice for long-term gain, or a policy that jeopardizes economic stability? China's retaliation. Fighting fire with fire. How has China countered these aggressive tariff measures? China, far from capitulating to U.S. demands, has struck back with its own arsenal of tariffs, targeting key American exports such as agriculture, technology, and energy. This tit-for-tat response has deepened tensions, creating a ripple effect that extends beyond the two nations involved. Chinese tariffs on U.S. agricultural products, including soybeans, corn, and beef, have skyrocketed by 84%. For American farmers, this is a devastating blow, as China was previously a significant market for these exports. Many farmers now face mounting financial difficulties, with some forced to seek government assistance to stay afloat. China has also turned to diversify its trade partnerships, strengthening economic ties with Europe, Africa, and other Asian countries. By doing so, Beijing aims to reduce its reliance on U.S. imports, mitigating the impact of the trade war. Simultaneously, China has increased investments in domestic industries, particularly in technology, to achieve greater self-sufficiency. These strategies showcase China's resilience and determination to avoid being cornered. Yet, questions remain. Can China withstand prolonged economic pressure, or will it ultimately have to negotiate under U.S. terms? The global ripple effect. Beyond U.S. and China, what are the broader implications of this trade war? The U.S.-China trade war has far-reaching consequences that extend well beyond the two nations involved. As global supply chains are deeply intertwined, the conflict has sent shockwaves across the world, disrupting economies and creating uncertainties in international trade. In Southeast Asia, countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia, which serve as alternative manufacturing hubs, are grappling with delays and increased costs. These nations, often dependent on both US and Chinese markets, find themselves caught in the crossfire, with their economic stability hanging in the balance. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has revised its global growth forecasts downward, attributing the slowdown in part to the US-China trade war. The resulting economic uncertainty has led to reduced investments and hesitancy among businesses to engage in long-term planning. Additionally, many countries are reevaluating their economic strategies, seeking to reduce reliance on the US and China. Trade realignments are becoming more common as nations explore alternative partnerships to safeguard their economic interests. As the world navigates these uncharted waters, the broader question is whether the benefits of free trade outweigh the risks of interdependence in an increasingly fragmented global economy. Supporters versus critics. Divided opinions. Is this trade war a bold strategy or a reckless gamble? Opinions on the tariff war are deeply polarized, with proponents viewing it as a necessary step to protect national interests, while critics warn of its far-reaching negative consequences. Supporters argue that the tariffs are a bold move to address China's unfair trade practices, including intellectual property theft and market manipulation. They see the measures as a way to level the playing field and safeguard American industries, fostering a sense of economic self-reliance. Proponents also believe that the tariffs will compel China to adhere to international trade norms, ultimately benefiting the U.S. in the long term. On the other hand, critics highlight the immediate harm caused by the tariffs. U.S. businesses and consumers bear the brunt of higher costs, while American farmers suffer from lost export markets. The aggressive approach has strained diplomatic relations with China and other trade partners, potentially isolating the U.S. on the global stage. Critics also warn that the trade war risks escalating into a broader economic conflict with unpredictable consequences. The debate remains. Will the benefits of these tariffs outweigh the costs? Or is this a high-risk gamble with no guaranteed rewards? Strategic goals. What's the endgame? What is the Trump administration aiming to achieve through this trade war? The primary objective of the tariffs is to compel China to adopt fair trade practices and address the U.S. trade deficit. Beyond these immediate goals, the Trump administration seeks to curtail China's rise as a global economic and technological powerhouse. By making Chinese imports more expensive, the U.S. hopes to boost domestic production and reduce its trade imbalance. Protecting intellectual property is another critical aim, as the administration accuses China of systematic technology theft. The tariffs also serve as a strategic tool to challenge China's growing influence on the global stage. However, achieving these ambitious goals comes at a cost. The tariffs have disrupted global supply chains and created economic uncertainty, raising questions about the long-term sustainability of this approach. Can these objectives be realized without causing irreparable harm to the global economy? Lessons from history. Similar conflicts. Have trade wars in the past yielded positive results? History offers valuable lessons on the potential outcomes of trade wars, though they rarely produce clear winners. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, for instance, is widely regarded as a policy misstep that exacerbated the Great Depression. While targeted tariffs can provide short-term relief to domestic industries, they often provoke retaliatory measures and prolonged economic stagnation. In the long term, such conflicts can weaken international trade relationships, undermining the very industries they aim to protect. Diplomacy, rather than confrontation, has historically been more effective in resolving trade disputes. Successful negotiations rely on mutual understanding and compromise, rather than punitive measures. Will history repeat itself, or can this trade war defy expectations and deliver meaningful change? A calculated move or costly error? So, is Trump's tariff war with China a bold masterstroke or a strategic misstep? The answer is far from simple. On one hand, the tariffs address genuine concerns about unfair trade practices and seek to protect American industries. On the other hand, the economic disruptions and global uncertainties they cause raise serious questions about their long-term viability. As the world watches this high-stakes economic chess game unfold, one thing is clear: the outcome will have profound implications for global trade, diplomacy, and economic stability. Whether this trade war results in a new era of balanced trade or leaves a legacy of economic discord remains to be seen. What's your take on the ongoing tariff war between the US and China? Do you think it's a necessary step to protect national interests, or is it a risky gamble with global repercussions? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful analyses. Stay informed, stay engaged, and join us next time as we explore the pressing issues shaping our world.